Welcome back, everybody, to D-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters. My name is RC, and I'm pumped.
He's pumped. The guy's pumped.
I'm excited to have Mr. Scott Kelby here. Scott, what's going on?
Thanks, RC.
What's going on? But it's one of those things where it's like we were hoping that Scott was going to be able to make it, and you've been running like crazy. I'm like, you've got a lot of stuff that you work on. And
I've been busy.
I'm like, he's been busy. So we were sitting there, we were like, all right, can we get him? Can we get him?
Well, the new maps just came out for Call of Duty.
You know what? I spent all my
face-off map.
The last hour last night I spent it downloading. By the time it was downloaded, I was like, I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
That takes up a lot of time.
But anyway, so Scott's here, and we've got some tips. We wanted to be able to do some travel tips. So we've got
some travel tips.
Travel tips. We have some cheap shots, websites to watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to work as a facilitator and just toss it over to you, because there's a lot of stuff. You're working in a travel photography class.
Right, I did. I actually went to Paris for a week. I wanted to do a travel photography class, and I wanted to do it on location.
Right.
And so the class is not really about photographing Paris, but man, is that a great city to do a travel photography class. The food wasn't bad either, but in the class, it's a two-part class. The first part is about shooting travel photography. So we go all over Paris, and we do the very typical things, and the whole thing is based on that you're there on vacation with your family. So it's more like real life, you know, not like you're flying to some exotic location. It's like, okay, the bus leaves at 9, more like that kind of thing, where you're with a group and you're trying to photograph as you go. Because honestly, that's how most of us wind up doing travel photography, you know. So that's part one. Then part two is I take the images into Lightroom and Photoshop and do my whole post-processing. So, and we go all the way through and build a book at the end, a photo book. And you know, that kind of stuff, that level of sharing is now really important. When people go take a trip now, they're going to share their photos. They're going to share them on Facebook. They're going to share them on Twitter. They're going to make slideshows, do presentations for the local camera group. They're going to make books. The photo books feature in Lightroom 4 is huge. And so I don't really want to give you a tip about Lightroom at this point, but I want to give you a tip about something to shoot when you actually are out there doing your travel photography. And it's something I want you to shoot thinking about the book you're going to make. Okay. Because you're already going to shoot all the regular stuff. You're going to shoot, like if you're in Paris, you're going to shoot the Eiffel Tower to death, and you're going to shoot the Arc de Triomphe and all the classic stuff. But you don't want a book just full of that. So at some point, there's some tips that I gave, is like, you want to show some things that are almost like, you wouldn't show this by itself, but in the context of the book, they're wonderful. So some of the things I recommend. Well, first I want to show you. I have the book I made. Well, part of the book I made up here on my computer. I want to just kind of take you through this. So I was going to take you through it real quickly.
Beautiful shot of Paris.
Thank you. So, but this is, you know, kind of standard stuff, right? All right. So I want to get to some of the shots I'm talking about. We'll zip through these real quickly. But these are things where you look at them and you go, well, they're stupid on their own, but they look great in the context of a book. Let me get to some of that stuff.
Now, while you get to that, one of the things that I will say is, if you take a look at scottkelby.com, I think the genesis of this actually started because you would go on these trips and you would put together these books, and people looked at them, they're just like, oh my God, that's a great experience. It was a great book, and it was a great way to be able to kind of sum up that.
Well, it puts it into like a story, you know. So here's what I'm talking about. If you look at the screen right here. No, okay, that's my blog. Okay, that's my screen. All right. So here are some pictures that, like by themselves, aren't really anything. But in the context of the book, and these are the kind of things that I want you to keep an eye out for shooting. I shoot a lot of menus. All right, from restaurants. I shoot the food, and in fact, let's go back a page here. I always shoot the food. So, and these are not lit. These are all just, you know what the trick to shooting food is?
What's that?
It's going to sound stupid. The trick to shooting food is ask for a table by the window or sit outside. Literally, that's it. I mean, you're just going to, and then what you do is you place the food there, and I try to use a little bit longer lens for shooting food. So so let's say that this laptop is my lunch, and you're going to use like a 70 to 200, or, you know, I actually travel with one lens of 28 to 300. I just get back a little, I stand up, I get back, shoot down, and I zoom in on the food. Now, if you'll notice, both of the dishes here are tilted. If you look on screen, they're both tilted, and here's why. So years ago, I took a great workshop from Lou Manna on shooting food, and he kind of pointed out in the class that you're shooting still life, right? These things don't have any energy or action to themselves. They're just sitting there. So by turning the camera a little to the left or to the right, it kind of adds energy to the shot. So all of my food shots are the food is sliding off the plate. But anyway, I always shoot the food, but I want to show you another example. Let's just go a little further into this. Like here, here's a page where 3 shots that really by themselves don't mean anything, but they tell a great story, you know? So this is 3 shots. There's a tomato on the end.
Okay.
And I'm literally walking by a vegetable stand. I'm like, oh, tomato, click, you know. This is the menu for a restaurant I just walked by. And this shot over here with the yellow bird and all, was actually in a restaurant. It looks like it's outside, but we're inside a restaurant where we're shooting, because I think if you put that outside, someone would steal it. Yes. So it's actually in. But so my tip here is really, think about things that you're going to shoot. Think about store signs, window signs, menus, telephones, because you know each country has its own signature telephone. You know, look at the British phone, right? The classic British phone booth, right? Mm-hmm. That's like an icon of Britain. If you want to make anybody think you're in London, just wheel a cardboard, you know, British red phone booth, and you're there. So it's thinking about shooting things that aren't going to be the stars of your book.
They're the connectors.
But they're the connectors. They're the little, you know, they're things that hold the story together and give you a richer view of everything.
Can I tell you I got yelled at? I got yelled at in Bodie.
Did you?
I'm sitting in Bodie and I'm doing all these big pictures. I was with Bill Fortney at the workshop. We talked about it the last show. And Bill's like, are you shooting any of the detail stuff? And I'm like, well, detail, I'm busy working on HDR. And he's like, have you seen Scott's stuff? Does he just shoot big? And I'm like,
well, that was
no, fine.
Oh, fine. I'll shoot the food, for goodness sake. Anyway,
but I thought it was. I think that's a great thing, and it really makes the book stand out.
Yeah, I think. Well, there's the end. So there's the end. So
all right. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and change gears. Let's take a look at a Larry Cheap Shot and see what Mr. Becker's got in store for us today.
Hey guys, I've got a quick cheap shot for you. Now, this one I've had forever, and it looks like a big reflector, but it's not. This is actually a backdrop, and I use it occasionally. I don't use it a whole lot. It's from a company called Botero, and it's one of those big pop-out backdrops, so check out how big it gets. All right, so pretty darn big, right? And generally what you're going to want to do is mount this with a clip onto either a dedicated backdrop stand, or you can use a light stand. I always end up using a light stand and a clip or a clamp. It's white on one side, and it's real reflective white. You can see it's really pretty good for that. And then black on the other side, and you can get this up on a stand as a backdrop for small portraits or you know, small family portraits or individual portraits. But like I said, it's pretty tall. The only challenge is folding it back up, which isn't too bad. You end up going opposite corners and make a shape like this. Then you put it on the ground like this and get it ready to fold in half, and then you let one side tuck under the other and you fold it up like that. So that's how it folds up. The reason that I really like this is it's around 80 bucks at B&H, and B&H is the only place I've seen this Botero backdrop. Now you can get them from Westcott, and they're heavier duty with heavier duty materials from the folks at Westcott, and they actually are more popular for this kind of thing. And if you're using this a lot, go ahead and fork over the change for the Westcott one. But if you're like me and you only occasionally need this kind of pop-up backdrop, there is a less expensive version. It's from Botero from B&H. I hope that helps some of you. Have a great time.
Thank you so much, Larry. Now, this is an interactive show now. So a lot of the times when you're watching this stuff, there's a good lot of you that are watching this on kelbytv.com/on-air. And we're watching this stuff and we're taking a look at these kinds of comments. And there was a comment that came in that I thought was really cool. So it was Steve Roberts. So Steve Roberts had asked how you're producing this stuff.
Okay.
Like, how are you producing
Well, there's 2 ways to do it. Lightroom 4 actually now has a book module in there that is terrific. So now I'm doing my books through Lightroom 4. Okay. And it has the whole layout and stuff. So it's very, very simple. It's better done than I expected it to be, because I've been using iPhoto for a long, long time. Okay. So you can use iPhoto, or you can use Lightroom, or you can even use Aperture if you use Apple's Aperture. However, to actually see like the edges of the book and like what I just showed on screen, I actually hide all the panels and then make a screen capture.
Okay.
So either in an iPhoto or Lightroom, you just hide everything and then just make a screen capture. So that's how I'm able to share them like you're seeing here. You're not actually seeing the book. These are all screen captures of the book, and that's why I include the edges and all that, because it just it gives you an idea of what the real printed book is like. And I always get the books printed. I mean, because it's once you've laid out the book, you just hit buy. It uploads it, and boom, you're done. So from Lightroom, you're actually going to blurb.com, and the last 5 books I printed have all been from Blurb, and they came out absolutely beautiful.
Nice.
And
Very,
Apple
very cool.
prints them wherever they print them, the secret Apple place.
And the other thing with Lightroom 4, if you haven't noticed it, is that Lightroom 4 now lets you export those spreads as JPEG.
Yeah, you can send them to somebody else or
You can
print
send
them
them
yourself and
wherever
create
you want.
your own books.
So, all right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, you've got a second tip for us.
I have a second travel photography tip.
So we're going to have all sorts of travel stuff when we come back.
I really believe that your photography is a reflection of who you are. In my posing class, you're going to learn a lot of things. How to pose a bride and bring out the best in her shape and her curves. How to photograph a groom, because many of us who may focus on the bride will ignore the groom. And getting your clients to mirror you. Mirroring, I find, is the best way of getting people to pose. I'm Jerry Gionis. Check out my class on the fine art of posing at kelbytraining.com.
Oh, that's cool. That's just, sorry guys. Hey, welcome back to D-Town TV. Basically, so this is what happened on break, right? I haven't had a chance to see any of this stuff, right? Because we're all working on separate different projects. So you guys go on break, and then all of a sudden he's like, do you want to see a little bit of the class? So we take a look, and the filming of that looks cool. That's very, very different.
Post-processing was done in a restaurant in Paris, and and I wish I could think of the name of the restaurant because it was wonderful, and I can probably find it. I can probably find the name of the restaurant, but maybe on the break I can find it real quick. It was a wonderful restaurant, right, literally looking across at Notre Dame.
But you know what? I just saw that, and it felt like a travel show. Like I saw that one frame, and I was like,
"It's a wonderful place to do it."
This looks good. All right, but anyway, but you have another tip for us.
I do have a trip. So a tip. I have a trip.
You have a trip tip?
I have a tip. So a lot of people a lot of questions I get about travel photography is that people get back to their hotel room at the end of the day, they look at their images and they go, like a lot of my images are out of focus. Like they're either, the people are a little bit fuzzy, because a lot of times you're having to take a quick shot of people. You're like, oh, something's happening. You take the picture. And so there's a couple of things I can give you, a couple of tips I can give you for that fast shooting on the run. You're walking down the street. Walk with me. Walking down the street. Parsley walks like he's like, hey, I'm partying. What's up? So anyway, what's up? You're walking down the street, and all of a sudden you see something happen. You turn your fire, and you have to do it really quickly. How do you get a sharp image? Well, I have 2 tips for you. Number 1 is, the little sensor in the middle of your camera. The thing to do, and it's hard to have this presence of mind, but here's what you have to do. The sensor that's in the middle is what's going to be in focus, right? That's your focus point. You're going to turn and put that right on their eyeball. Hit that sensor directly on their eyeball. Grab your finger, hold the shutter button down halfway. That locks the focus on their eyeball, and then recompose and fire. So it's really a 3-step process. You see something happening right on their eyeball, and then bang, you fire the shot. Like the way I went right out of camera, right out of frame? Okay, but that's it. So but if you do it a couple of times, it really makes a big difference, because if you nail their eyeball, everything's in focus. You're going to be fine. It doesn't matter what f-stop you're at, everything's going to be dead on the money. So, but if their eyeball is not sharp, does it matter if the bookcase is a little sharp? A little soft? No, it really matters if the people in your shots are sharp. That's step 1. Step 2 is to not shoot in single mode, but to shoot in, here I'm going to move this to where it'll actually fire. To shoot in, it's not good, okay. To shoot in like burst mode or continuous high speed. Here's why. So if you see this happening, you hit their eyeball and you go,
bang, 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 bang,
it won't
bang.
Fire. Why?
Oh, it doesn't have a card.
It doesn't have a card.
Probably.
So you're going to go click, click, click. You can make the sound, though, pretty realistically. Yeah. So you're just going to turn. Bam, bam, bam. Click, click, click. Why are you taking 2 or 3 shots of a non-moving object? Here's why. Because one of those is most likely going to be absolutely tack sharp. You may have one that's a little soft, and if you take 1 shot, you're putting all of your bet on that. That 1 quick shot that you took is going to be in focus. If you shoot 3 or 4, especially if it's a low light situation, It's a little dark, or in a lot of cases, you'll be walking down the street and you see something happening to your left or to your right on a street. Chances are they're in the shade, which means your shutter speed is going to slow. Even though you're out in the bright sun, you're not shooting here, you're shooting over there into the shade. A lot of times that'll happen. So your shutter speed drops dramatically. Remember, it's not where you're standing, it's where you're aiming the camera. So if you aim over there, someone's in the shade, they're in a storefront, they're in a store, they're inside a barber shop and you're shooting inside of there, take 2 or 3 shots, just click, 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 real quick. And when you look through Lightroom or whatever you use to sort your images, you're gonna look at one, you're gonna go, oh no, oh no. Ah.
But see, and those are key points, because a lot of the times people think, they think shutter, aperture, and you get yourself ready. But you speak to a much bigger thing, which is technique. A lot of the times when you're doing these kinds of things, it requires practice. It requires going out and trying and moving it and making sure that you can do this as fast as you can and thinking about all of those things. And that's something that may not come immediate.
It's not a thing that'll take you 2 weeks, though. It's one of those things where if you start off in the morning and say, if I shoot a person, I'm really going to think about on their eye, halfway down, recompose and shoot. The first couple times you'll be like, oh, I kind of missed the shot and all, but by the afternoon you'll be nailing it. It's just making it top of mind really makes a big difference.
Nice. Very, very cool. All right, let's do this. Let's take another break. When we come back, I've got a website for you to watch. I've got some prizes. Stick around. We'll be right back.
I can't wait to do this again.
Welcome back to E-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters. RC, Mr. Scott Kelby, talking to us about travel photography and how to be able to make those tips work for you when you're out on vacation. Now, the restaurant, let's go back to talk about that, because I thought that was really, really cool.
All right, so this restaurant is literally right on the Seine River. It is overlooking, I mean, if you were to walk out the front door and just look left, boom, there's Notre Dame. So it's beautiful. This is it right here. So it's called a restaurant.
La Bouteille d'Or.
La Bouteille d'Or. That's close.
Nice.
But it's a relatively new restaurant. I think it just opened up this year.
Their website is boparis.com.
boparis.com. If you're going to France, and I know that you are, I talk to people, I see people on Twitter every day going, hey, I'm going to Paris, where should I shoot? I don't know where to shoot, I know where to eat. Go here. It was a fantastic meal. And so what was nice is, as we're doing the post-processing, we would stop and they would bring up all this incredible food, and we had to pay for it, but it was very, very good.
Now,
hey, and you can see a little bit of this is upstairs, so
I wanted to show this, and I was talking to him during the break.
You're not going to hear the audio, but I'll let you take a look. See, look at that. I have my Wacom tablet.
You're just
my camera, my pen, and look, it's raining out, so it was the perfect day for post-processing.
This is what I thought was cool. It just looked neat, like it looked like a cool Travel Channel class. I was like, I'm going to want to see this one.
Well, it was cool because we did all kinds of stuff. So we had a wonderful guide, Parisian-based photographer, wonderful photographer. We'll talk about him in just right now, right?
Who happens to be the guy that we're talking about right now, photosurge.com. This is the website to watch. When you were looking for somebody to take you out and about, you wanted to find somebody who had done great Paris-based photography.
He has a great shot of every iconic place. And he's, number one, he's a wonderful guy. I remember he took us there. He took us there. He's a wonderful photographer and a wonderful guy. He's really, look at that. That's taken from the top of the Tour Montparnasse building. It's the tallest building in France. But you have to realize that not only is Serge a really great guide and all, he's a really good photographer.
Yes.
You know what's weird is, you want a great travel tip for Paris? They let you take tripods up there. I kid you not. Where do they let you take a tripod these days? But up at the top, at that observatory, I'm up there, and he told me before we went there, yeah, they allow tripods. And you go through security with your tripod and nobody says anything.
You know why?
Like,
because they know that they want nice shots.
they want nice shots. So the whole rest of the world needs to catch on to that. If you want to have nice shots of your thing, let people use tripods, not force them not to use them.
So anyway, Serge, thanks so much for providing a lot and for having amazing photography for us to take a look at this week. You're the website to watch. Now, we have some prizes. Here, it's pretty straightforward. Photoshopworld.com. Take a look at Photoshop World. One of you guys is going to be going for free. Now, obviously, you have to get your own airfare and you have to get your own hotel. But if you want to get together with Scott, myself, some of the world's best photographers to talk about photography, Photoshop, Lightroom, that's the place for you to be able to do it. We're doing that September 5th through 7th in Las Vegas, Nevada, and one of you guys can go there. The best way for you to win that is to go to kelbytv.com/DTownTV. You're going to go to episode 114. Put your name, put your email address, leave a comment. Let us know what's happening there. Remember, guys, you can be watching on YouTube, you can be watching on Google+, you could be watching live on kelbytv.com/on-air. However, our producers can only pick from one spot. That's the website that they check. Scott, thanks so much for coming by. Thanks so much for taking a break on that. That was really, really cool.
Thanks.
I'm excited. I'm going to actually be talking to the video. See,
I'm pumped.
now he's pumped.
Now if I want to go back.
But anyway, we'll stick around. We'll see you guys next week on D-Town TV. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.